Hey everyone. All right, so this week we are going to be tackling a few kind of difficult things. We're going to be looking at perspective, and for some people that just is deer in the headlights moment because it's a scary thing. And it's something that often you have to be taught by several different people before you get it. So if you don't get it from me, reach out and I will connect you with some other possible tutorials and things like that that might help you. I know for myself, I had to hear it from lots of different professors before I finally kind of get it. It's like I understand it, but it's not an easy thing to teach, and people have different ways of um, explaining. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Hopefully it will here. What I want you to first know is with perspective, it's not everything, especially in sketching. We're not doing architectural renderings. If anybody is in the class for that, I apologize in advance because I'm not that person to teach that. And I believe, and everyone has their own style or their own aesthetic, even that they want their sketches to look like, but I'm one for looser, just like capturing that information. So having a knowledge of perspective is great. Using a ruler and getting every line just so, that's, I don't think there's, place in artistic sketching. In architectural rendering, you're getting a sketch in order to, make real drawings and plans from. That's, of course, a need for accuracy there. But I think when it's a little bit off, a little bit, it's not the end of the world, and sometimes it adds character. So I'm going to show you some sketches to give you an idea what I mean. And then we'll be talking about the types of perspective. We're going to be applying this week as we learn about both just drawing. If you're out and about and you're drawing and there's some buildings that show up, you want to know how to put them down so they're readable, so they're understandable. I know the following week we'll be doing interiors, so having things lined up inside, often you need to have an understanding of perspective for that as well. As we're doing landscapes too, we've crammed a lot into this week. This week is cityscapes, the outdoor kind of thing, urban sketching. The idea of urban sketching is going out into the city or your town and sketching what you see, into a coffee shop even. So urban sketching can take place anywhere. That's usually pen and ink and putting a little color wash on. We'll do some of that in our Zoom for sure. And yeah, so what was I gonna say? Oh yes, and then landscape. So landscape's another whole thing. A lot of times it's more about the mark making and creating an atmospheric perspective, which is another perspective altogether. That's having, what's closest to you be in more detail and be clearer. And as things go back in space, they can be lighter because that atmosphere comes between you and the object. It's the more atmosphere is between you, the lighter something's going to appear. So if you are drawing the mountains in the background, you don't necessarily want them in a very dark, heavy pen mark, right? So you would go lighter with that, indicating that they are further back in space. So little tricks like that are things we're going to touch on this week. And just, buckle up. This is going to be a crazy week. We're cramming a lot in, so have fun. Okay, so let's start. Let's just go with this. I am going to switch my camera and talk a bit about perspective. Let's see. All right. So with perspective, there is one point, and there's all sorts of points of perspective, but what for the purpose of this class and beginning class, we're going to be talking about 1 point perspective and 2 point perspective. And 1 point being basically you have your horizon line, and on the horizon line, you've got your point that you're going, everything is going to go to that point. That's your vanishing point. So having just one vanishing point, if, like, for example, you have a street or railroad tracks or whatever it is, they're all going to disappear on that vanishing point. So when it's closer to you, it's right, oops, we can't see that line. It's right here. And then they get, a little closer together as they go back in space. if this were railroad tracks and I drew actual railroad tracks, but you get the idea. So a path, whatever it is, a river, all of these things are going to have that same kind of idea of one vanishing point. If you were doing, turn this around, make use of the paper here. We'll ignore that. I'll put something to block it. Haha. Okay, so if you were drawing like a cube, let's say. So let's get a horizon line. Let's get our vanishing point, and let's draw a square. Oops, that broke. Use a pen instead. We'll draw a square. And we'll draw one here, and we're going to draw one up here, and one right on the horizon line, for example, just to get some different ideas of perspective. So if this was going to be a cube, right now there's just squares, but to make it a cube, I would want, and I wouldn't draw this, this is just for you to understand it. If you're drawing in pencil, then yeah, if you want to draw it out, for the first few times, just practicing it helps you to understand. When you're out sketching, you're not necessarily going to want all those lines in. So let me show you. Here will be, now I can put lines in that will make sense for the cube. So here's what we will see of the cube. And these lines, everything goes to the vanishing point. If we're up here, same thing. These lines will all go, every corner, which I could put I forgot to put the inside of the box, so I'll do it on this one just so you see. Everything goes to that vanishing point. Now we got to decide how big is that box, right? So that line has to come down. We're going to see the bottom of it, so it's going to cut out. Right. So we reinforce those lines and decide if it's a empty box that we can look into, then we would see that line, wouldn't we? But then we see the bottom. See, we see the bottom of the box there. And then this side. So you get the idea. You see, depending where the object is that you're looking at, the building, the house, where your vantage point is. Where are you looking up at the building? Then you're going to see that kind of view. Are you looking down, or are you looking right at? So let's try this one that's below our vanishing point. So marking these lines, that one comes straight to it pretty much. Anyway, so again, across, let's restate the lines so we get the idea of a cube. So notice in the cube, that front line is larger or longer than this one behind it because it's going back in space. It's getting smaller as it recedes. So these are things that as you're looking at stuff in person, you'll notice these things. You don't have to draw all of these lines to get it. You can to practice and to understand it now. But if you are out on vacation, there's this cute little village you stop in and you want to get the idea of the houses, you just want to have an understanding of how perspective works so that your sketch will make some sense. So perspective, when we talk about eye level, what is eye level? So horizon line isn't necessarily eye level. I mean, it is for this one, but here on this one, we have a worm's eye view. We're looking up, right? And here we're looking more down at it. We're seeing the top, so the bird's eye view. And then, so your viewpoint or your eye level can be all different places, depending where you are and where you're standing. So those are things to notice and think about. Brought along this book because I love this one, Pen and Ink. And it has just really great examples of sketching in it. And hopefully I'll turn to some right pages, but I want to give you some ideas of, like, even to understand this, one thing you can do is look at other people's sketches and see how they are interpreting space. And that will help you a lot. The other thing is to, you can also look at photographs of places and you try to, from a photograph, interpret the space. And then that's kind of like the training wheels, and then going out and understanding it in a real space. So having an understanding of the perspective before you go out will help you to get those lines a little bit better and making a little bit more sense. Yeah, so one of the things I like to do, I think this will work, is to grab some tissue like tracing paper, whatever, vellum, anything that you have, or you can actually draw right onto, like if you have some photos and you want to make some Xerox copies, photocopies of places of photos that you have, you can do that and draw right onto that. So either way, draw right onto the picture. If it's in a book or something else though, you want to put tracing paper on. And just to help you sort of start understanding, okay, where is my vantage point in this? Where would I be putting my horizon line? So with this, if we have this kind of bird's eye view, we're looking down at the street and we can see the tops of the roof. So our horizon line is more up here with our, yeah, is that right? Yeah, so everything that I believe that everything is going to go to that vanishing point there. So we would have, oops, that, and you can just do, I don't know if this pen will work on this. Anyway, things are going to distinctly go to that point. The roof's here, this roof line, everything is going back to that point. So they line up. It's not exact because this is a little bit, photo or sketch is a little loose, and loose sketches are fine, but this has one perspective. This is 1 point perspective, sorry. Anyway, 1 point perspective has just 1 point in it. There's also 2 point perspective. So let me show you that. And then we'll look at a few more sketches. With 2 point perspective, you will have your horizon line, of course, with 2 points on it. So if you were showing some different sides of something, so say we have, let's just put a line here, and let's take that and line it up to that, bring that to there, and here's our other point. And the point doesn't even, it's not always going to even make the page. Sometimes your vanishing point is way off the page, but and you have to sort of imagine it, which we're gonna be practicing imagining these anyway. So say this was our building and this is the corner and we're looking straight on at the corner. Now we have a side coming this way, a side coming that way. That would be 2 point perspective. That's how you get that kind of building or house or whatever it is, structure. All right, so hopefully that will show you. I'll show you more in this book. Let's move on to some other ones. I think there's ones that are going to show too. I'm just going to go through this on and show different ideas. Love this sketch because this is giving almost the atmospheric perspective in a way, even though things are going back this way, right, towards a vanishing point somewhere out here. You've got these people in your foreground, and that's causing this to like create this sense of space anyway. So this is a different type of perspective in a way. You've got a little bit of that 1 point, but you also have almost an atmospheric perspective just by the fact that your subject is close and you've got this background back there, and it's giving this sense of depth, and which is what you want with perspective. Creating a sense of depth. Now, like see on this one, we're going straight back. This is the 1 point perspective that we've talked about. So on this, if I were to show you that my vanishing point's gonna be somewhere in here. Everything is leading to, I should have used color, to that point. So see, even the windows kind of come up to that. No, maybe it's more up here. Yeah, sorry. It can be a little off too. So oftentimes they are. Yeah. anyway, you get the idea, things line up. The things closer to, like when you're looking at windows in perspective or doorways or whatever, as they go back, they'll get smaller. The closer to you is larger, and then they decrease in size. So things like that to notice. Really love this sketch, how they've incorporated it's just a black and white sketch. This is a great example of urban sketching where they put in that little pop of color. And you would think they would have put green in, but they put blue, and it just makes it kind of interesting and different. All right, let's look. Oh yeah. So in this courtyard area too, there's a little bit of perspective involved. Not a lot, but it creates a sense of space having this wall and the arches. But see, even on this wall where the archway where you're just seeing this part, these all are coming to this vanishing point that's right about there. Everything is lining up to there, right? Including from this side, but you can't see. Yeah, it's a really different kind of perspective because you can see this side of the arch. You would think you'd be able to see this side too, but you can't. Anyway, that's why it's a sketch and it's fun. And see, it demonstrates that everything doesn't have to be perfect. It's not this architectural rendering, but you still have a sense of this space. All right, let's look at another one in here. This is just like such a cool book, I think. I think I have lined up for that one. Right. So here gives you that example of the 2 point. So on this one, you've got your vanishing points can be like way out here. So these are coming together out here is a vanishing point. And your other vanishing point is somewhere in here. So these lines come to, yeah, maybe over this side a little bit more. So if you can imagine, that's going there, and that is making the shape of that building. And let's see if we do one more. All right, so again, I just love just like a loose little sketch like that is so fun. Again, it's a great example of urban sketching, coming back in with a wash of color, just a little sketch marks in ink. And this one is employing also the 2 point perspective. So you've got this side of even the dome has a sense of it, but this side of this building is coming here. Let's get a paper and draw it. Let's see it. So see that line's coming out here, here, here. It's gonna be somewhere way out here actually where it's meeting. Would take care of that side. And then this other side is coming this way. So there's a split in it. So it is just like our structure that we just drew that line, right? With the horizon line, very similar. See how that's just fitting and everything's fitting within that to give a sense of dimension. I've got one more. Right. This would be, what do you think? 1 point, if that's what you were guessing. So again, everything is leading to 1 point on this. You can really set up a lot of good drawings with just 1 point perspective. It just kind of depends where you are and what you're looking at. If you need 1 or 2 point, and often you'll need 3, and that's when you're getting into skyscrapers and things like that. But for this, the 1 point, your point is back here. You can almost see like a little bit of water there, right? That would be your vanishing point right there. Everything is leading to that, including the top of the tunnel, right? These lines come here, here, all of it works. And it's kind of neat having the detailed bicycle right here in the foreground. And you just can go, and the path gets narrower, right? As it goes back, it's getting smaller and smaller. And we know that the path is all the same, right? But because of perspective, it appears smaller as it goes back. That's what perspective is. It's not anything to be afraid of. It's just kind of what it is. We see it every day. We engage with it every day, but now you need to practice looking at it. So looking at other people's drawings, is a great way just to start that. And if you care about getting this book, this is like a really neat one. I think it gives you a lot of good ideas on how to put down your pen and ink if that's what you're working in. Okay, so that's a start. Hopefully you will practice some of that. Look at some of your favorite drawings, see how you just start noticing how they engage in perspective with those. And we'll get to some more next. Okay.